Again, all these differences and changes as we go. But for now, learning some Torah, that's not different. That's not a change, Rabbi Earne.
Thank you, Rabbi Kornberg. Those of you who grew up hearing stories of the great cowboys, Billy Rashid and Billy Tachlit and Kid Ruchi, now's your chance to actually get a Devar Torah from one of them. This week's Torah portion, we learn about one of the very few prayers that are offered by one of our biblical heroes. And the prayer is offered by Moshe Rabbeinu. And this prayer, it's very simple, it's very direct, and it calls on an immediate response. He sees his sister Miriam suffering with tzara'at, a skin inflammation. And he immediately cries out, El na refa na la. Very simple, very powerful, and brief. What does it mean to offer a direct prayer? The rabbis in the Midrash take this and tell a beautiful story about the importance of offering prayer. In Rabbi Eliezer's study, when his students came together for the morning prayers, there was a prayer leader who went on and just kept continuing and expanding the prayer. And the service continued until some of his students turned to Rabbi Eliezer and said, Rabbi Eliezer, this prayer leader is going on for way too much time. I don't think this is right. And Rabbi Eliezer, with patience, turned to his students and said, this leader is following the model of one of our great biblical heroes, Moshe Rabbeinu. Because Moshe Rabbeinu, when he was on Mount Sinai, right after the great sin of the golden calf, he saw that his people were not ready to receive the Torah. And Moshe could not identify what it was that was the problem. So he needed to pray for 40 days and 40 nights to try to figure out what was it that the people of Israel needed at that moment so that they could become ready and prepared to receive the Torah. After Moses' 40 days and 40 nights prayer, he comes down with a Torah that he makes with his own hands, a Torah that in many ways we're still using today. So Rabbi Eliezer turns to his student and says, this prayer leader, he was following the guide of Moses. Another day in Rabbi Eliezer's study, there was a leader who jumps in, prays so quickly, says the words very fast, and the student said, Rabbi Eliezer, how is it that this prayer leader is going too fast? It's not right. Rabbi Eliezer says, no. This prayer leader is following the example of a great biblical hero, Moshe Rabbeinu. Because Moshe Rabbeinu, when he saw his sister suffering and knew that she needed immediate attention, he said a very quick and brief prayer, and this prayer leader also must feel the same way. You see something in our community that needs to change, and he's being direct and brief. So in the Talmud, and hinted in this week's Torah portion, we see that in one house of study, there are two ways of offering prayer. A prayer that is long, that requires much thought. A prayer that is based on sometimes there are things that we wish that are complicated and take time to figure out. Things that are not clear, we know exist, we know need change. But yet the clear, direct answers are difficult to find. Well, at the same time, there is also the prayer that we see in response, especially to people who are suffering. And we know the words, because the words are, this must stop now. This person must be healed. This cannot happen again. Those two prayers exist in the house of Rabbi Eliezer's study. And I would say that today, more than any other time in our history, they must also exist in our houses of study and prayer, our sanctuaries, our synagogues. To be more specific, how can we not respond with a desire for an immediate stop when we see the suffering of an innocent individual? Our children know this more so than we do. They see the recent events in the news, and they say, how could this be? It must stop. And if our children see this, it must be an example that we also are carrying that same prayer in our hearts. While at the same time, recent events have brought to our attention that systematic racism, institutionalized racism, ingrained racism have answers that are very difficult to find and will require a lot of work, a lot of introspection, but yet they demand our prayers, and we cannot look away from those challenges. Recently, I've heard a call for more dialogue, and I think that is true. But I would add a qualification to that, which is that we ask for more prayerful dialogue, a conversation where we recognize there is solutions, and we will not just give lip service to listening, but we will take that listening and try to find the long-term solutions that are needed for us to become a better place, a better society, and specifically a better country. For those who struggle perhaps to find the patience or who want an immediate solution to these challenges, I'm thinking about the $1 bill. If you'll notice in the $1 bill, there's actually a pyramid on it. And on the top of the pyramid, there is an eye. I'm told that this pyramid was an expression of the theology of our founding fathers, which was that they believed that the strength of our country was that we could come from the four corners of the world with different perspective. We could look differently. Our skins could be of different colors. We could have different religious backgrounds. And yet, even though we were different, we would work together and find one truth that we could all carry with joy and confidence. The four sides coming together to the top. Some might say, we're there, we need to stop. I would say we have some work to do. Some would say, we will never be there. And I would say that in this week's Torah portion, we are not only reminded of Moses' desire to heal his sister, but we learn of a leader who had the patience, who had the mindfulness, and who had the drive to take his people through the wilderness. And even though there were moments where we, the readers, thought we're never going to get there, as a result of Moses' faith in us, we made it to the river Jordan. We should have that same faith in ourselves and let our prayers be sources of inspiration that bring us to that place. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Yeshukach, Rabbi Earne. We are going to begin our Torah reading, so I'm going to invite those people who are our Torah readers and the first couple of aliyot to begin to make their way around so that we can go ahead and do that. Rabbi Earne, I'm going to have you Gabbai from over on this side. I'm actually going to Gabbai from up the podium so I can call out pages as well, but we'll both be Gabbai. You can do it if you wish. And Barbara, you're going to be our first aliyah as well. Yeah, I know you're the first Torah reader, but you're the first aliyah. So come on in, go ahead and find your place. Rabbi Earne, it may be helpful, which you found last week, if you grab a yad.
Yes.
And then in between each aliyah, place your yad there and take it up, so that way, as we go, people will be able to find. Once again, we're trying to find all sorts of new pathways and making sure that we're keeping everybody safe and still at the same time we're able to do what we need.